Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Franchise Interviews. For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 7 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with World Pizza Champion Glenn Cybulski, co-founder of Persona Neapolitan Pizzeria. And Persona Neapolitan Pizzeria offers delicious and truly authentic Neapolitan pizza at a great value without the long wait. I'm going to talk to Glenn about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 7 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with World Pizza Champion Glenn Cybulski, the co-founder of Persona Neapolitan Pizzeria. Hey Glenn, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Marty. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, Glenn. Thanks for calling in. I have a feeling it might be a little early where you are today. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning?
Yeah, that's okay. I'm calling from Northern California.
Wow.
We got a bit of a farm up here, so it's nice to get up with the animals in the morning.
Oh, that's something. That's great. Well, I'm so glad you came on the show, Glenn. I was, I used to work at a pizza store when I was 18 years old, and I love pizza. I'm like the biggest fan of pizza. So, and I was watching you on YouTube the other day, and it was amazing how easy you made this look in cooking this pizza. And I said, you know what, I can do that. So I said, you know what, I get why you guys are franchising this concept, because it seems like it's, you can duplicate it anywhere and almost teach anyone how to do it, couldn't you?
Yeah, it is. Pizza's number one handheld food in America and the world for that matter. So the concept is very exciting. Being able to create a pizza right in front of your guest, for your guest, customized, and cooking it in 90 seconds. It's fun, and it is very, very replicatable.
How did you get into this, Glenn? I mean, I said, you know what, when I was like, you know, researching the company and things like that, I said, you know, you must have some story on how you got into pizza because you really mastered this trade, haven't you? I mean, is there a story behind it?
Yeah, you know, it's the same kind of story. You hear some of these rock and roll bands where they play club all their life, and then all of a sudden they're thrust into the limelight. But you know, my journey with pizza started when I was young. I was able to lucky to have a father that loved to cook and loved to have people over all the time, and basically that's where the journey started. And you know, went straight really into the heart of Italy, into Rome and Naples, about 15, 20 years ago, and I can say the rest is history. I love pizza.
That's fantastic. It's just same here. It's just such a big, you know, I'm one of those people, you know, maybe like you know, I could eat pizza every day. I mean, do you have a favorite, Glenn, when you go into, you know, your own restaurants?
Yeah, well, the margarita, margherita, as the Italians say, is the simplest, purest of pizzas, and you know, you can't beat that taste of the fresh mozzarella and the crushed tomatoes and the simplicity of a little bit of sea salt and fresh basil. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You were there. I mean, you're the co-founder of the company, so maybe, you know, we can kind of go back to the beginning. You could describe the history of Persona Neapolitan Pizzeria, Glenn.
Yeah, you know, it's the history is kind of fun. My co-founder attended a seminar that I did at the International Pizza Expo. Pizza Today magazine puts on that expo every year. And I was doing a seminar called So You Want to Open a Pizzeria. And you know, Marty, it's easy to walk into a pizzeria and go, wow, this is great and everything. But there's a lot that goes into opening any business. Yeah. So that's how we initially met. And the new concept for pizza, which doesn't happen a whole lot, you know, we have New York style, we've got our Chicago, California. But when you have a new concept for such a huge segment of the fast casual market like pizza, everybody takes notice. So the create your own or build your own pizza concept, some are calling it the Chipotle or the Subway of pizza, is the fastest growing segment in the industry today, and so it's basically we met and both decided this is exactly what the next step was in the evolution of pizza in America, and the timing was perfect.
Yeah, it's true, Glenn. And, you know, it's, you know, I've been in franchising for a while now, you know, and we see that, you know, it was once dominated, you know, or the pizza was once dominated by, you know, like I guess you could say the delivery and takeout, you know, I mean, your Domino's. But I've noticed over the last, like, you know, like three to 5 years, you know, something seems to be happening in the pizza industry. And I suspect that's because there's a need for, you know, this type of concept, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is. I mean, Americans, you know, we're geared by marketing and industries to want it faster, quicker, better, cheaper. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because the Italians have been doing this for centuries, literally, where you walk up to a small, you know, store in an alley, and it's your neighborhood pizzeria, and you order a pizza, they fire it, and you have it in 2 or 3 minutes. And that's exactly what the concept is. It's being driven by the fact that Americans now want a healthier, quicker, and less expensive product, but it still has to be of extreme high quality, and that's what Persona delivers.
Yeah, it's well said. How has technology played a role in your business, Glenn? It must be interesting, you know, because this is an old concept that, you know, has been more modernized. So, I mean, how's technology being used today?
You know, technology is used in many different ways, and, you know, obviously the social media aspect of getting the word out is a very, very big aspect. But, you know, another one that's going to be very, very important for our franchisees in the future is also harnessing supply chain logistics through technology, back-end websites, secure websites where our franchisees can access branded materials like cups and napkins and do ordering through websites. And that's not to say we're not hands-on, because we're extremely hands-on. I know we're going to talk about that. But really, technology brings a a world closer to every single pizzeria that's going to be opened by Persona, and the ease of operation literally makes this this kind of concept for anybody. Anybody can really get involved in this. You don't have to have a deep knowledge of pizza at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. And when you mentioned your seminar too, Glenn, and giving that, I mean, it seems like, I've known, over the years, a lot of people that for some reason, I think it's almost like the American dream. You want to open up your own pizza restaurant, don't you? I think there's a lot of people out there that would they say, God, I'd love to open up one of these one day. But of course, it's not so easy. I mean, you see a line of people and things like that, and it's fascinating. And I think it's also fascinating how you are taking this old concept and you're implementing technology at the same time. I really think it's fascinating. Since you got involved in this, I mean, what's been, and it's a challenging question for our guests, but what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you?
Well, that's not a bad, a hard question to answer for me anyway, because, we see it on a daily basis at the restaurant. People literally will walk into the restaurant, Marty, they'll stop at the front door and they'll look around. Pizza's always been an item where everybody's, you call up your local pizzeria and they say, okay, well your delivery's for, to take an hour. Well, I want to pick it up. Well, it's still going to take a half an hour to cook the pizza.
Right.
Well, it's not true anymore. At Persona, our pizzas bake in 90 seconds. So people are walking in.
That's great.
And they're looking at this concept, and they're overwhelmed that now they can make their own pizza. They can pick out ingredients as our Pizzaiolo actually chop the pizza. And by the time they get to the end of the make line, the pizza is fired and sitting on the pass ready for them to go.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I had a bad experience a couple of weeks ago at the pizza place that we've been going to since we've lived here. And I have to say, I think I waited about 35 minutes. I ordered it from the house, went to go pick it up. And even though I got there, I was still waiting another 35 minutes. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I said, God, I'll never come back here again. But, I mean, that's great, to have that ability today because, we're really just not used to that, and I think, there's a lot of people out there that will love to be able to just go in, order their pizza and get it in, a couple minutes and go back home and eat it with their family. I think that's wonderful.
Fast. Yeah. Well, and I don't know. It's from a personal standpoint. I'm a dad. I've got kids, and when you're taking your young kids out somewhere, the last thing you want to do is wait. Engaging families, our demographic spans, the age barriers really for pizza. When families walk in, kids are engaged because they get to see their pizza being made right in front of them. They get to interact. And then again, you don't have to wait for a half an hour to have your food come out. Literally, it's out in 90 seconds bake time. So that makes the families love this, being geared more to, again, like I said, faster, better, less expensive, and Persona delivers all of that with a high-quality Neapolitan pizza.
That's fantastic. What types of characteristics will you be looking for in your franchisees, Glenn?
I think that the same old adage applies to franchisees. We're looking for individuals that don't want to recreate the wheel. We've got over 25 years of experience in operations procedures. We've got over 120 culinary awards for extremely high-quality products and pizzas that we make. And we want people that are excited about entering a segment in the fast casual market that's literally exploding in popularity. This is going to be a nice long-term run in the pizza industry. And from a guy who's been in the pizza industry for 25 years, I literally believe that this is going to change the way people think about pizza, which is an excellent opportunity for any people that want to get into the pizza business on the ground floor of a brand new concept that's absolutely exploding across the U.S.
That's true. And, I think one of the things they get, when they get into your franchise opportunity is they get someone like yourself, of course, who has been doing this such a long time, and you've really mastered this trade, and also I'm sure they would be able to get you on the phone. Sometimes we've heard stories in doing the show such a long time now, like with not to pick on like a Subway, but Subway's become so big now. I think some of their franchisees are actually known as like franchisee number 23,297 or something like that. So. Yeah, you're right about that. To be able to get someone like yourself and to be able to work with someone like yourself, on that ground floor opportunity, I think is, I think it's very important. The training must be, interesting. It was one of the things I got when I was watching the YouTube video too. When I was watching you, make this pizza, and you just made it look so easy. What's that like, or what's the training like once they decide to become a franchisee, Glenn? Do they come out to headquarters?
Absolutely, and headquarters is in Santa Barbara, California, so it's not a hard place to come to.
That's true.
It's we're right on the beautiful Central Coast of California, and the training is very extensive. But again, we've hired the best in the business to take us to franchising with FranCorp, and we've got the operations and procedures are down to a pat. Again, there's 25 years of experience, and we have something that other concepts don't have. In fact, no other concept in this industry has two trained chefs as founders. Joseph Baumel, the co-founder, is a trained culinary chef from the CIA. And, of course, I'm a world pizza champion and certified Italian Pizzaiolo. So when you combine those two talents, the training is going to be intense, but it's also going to be a very fun, light atmosphere where we're able to teach the new operator, exactly what they need to know from basically A to Z. And again, the operation looks easy, like you said on the video, but there are exacts to that operation. The dough balls are measured exactly. The sauces are applied. The cheeses are applied exactly as far as weight. So as to create a product that you're going to be able to taste, I think you're in Pennsylvania, right? You're going to be able to taste it. Yeah, you're going to be able to taste the same exact product in Pennsylvania that we have out here in California that's going to be served out in New York. And that's very, very important. So we have a 2-week training process at headquarters, and then we do a 2-week training process before they launch their new Persona Neapolitan Pizzeria in their own hometown.
That's fantastic. For the customers, there's, as we were talking earlier, Glenn, we mentioned, there's a lot of people that would love to own their own pizza store, but they're customers, they've never actually, worked in one. I mean, what's a typical day like for a Persona Neapolitan Pizzeria franchisee?
Typical day, Persona's open around 11 o'clock, and that's going to vary depending on the area in the U.S. or the world that Persona's open. We close generally Sunday through Thursday at 9 o'clock, and on the weekends we stay open a little later. And again, that's going to be subject to change depending on where a Neapolitan Pizza Persona is open. But a typical day for an owner again is somewhat like a general manager's position in any kind of a restaurant. You're overseeing the operations, and again, with the very tight operational training that we do, you're overseeing, you're orchestrating your team to perform on a daily basis the same way with consistency, high quality, a great attitude, and smiles to all of their guests to make sure that the guest experience is the best. And that's what's fun about being an operator of a Persona. Everybody's happy with walking in. I mean, after all, it is pizza, and everybody loves pizza. So a very structured day and a busy day. The days seem to go by really fast when, you've got lines of people out the door waiting to come in and order a pizza.
That's true. I mean, pizza is fun, isn't it? It's not to pick on, we've had, a lot of, transmission franchises. And, I always say it must be a little difficult, when you're fixing transmissions and you're giving your customers the price, I mean, there's nothing fun about that, is there, So you're right, pizza is fun, So I think that's fantastic. Go ahead.
And the one thing about pizza, people always ask me, where does your inspiration come from? And I remember as a young child, on a Saturday night, my dad would bring a pizza home. And it was one of those times where I'll never forget that for as long as I live. It was a bonding time for the family. And Persona creates that as well. Persona creates that fun and that time where a family can come in and quickly get a very high-quality, true Neapolitan pizza and be able to sit down and enjoy it or take it out and take it back to their house and enjoy that time. So that's very important for us. Creating the culture of high quality, fast served Neapolitan pizza is what Persona's doing.
That's fantastic. And studying your background also, Glenn, I think you're a real, entrepreneur, so I thought you'd be able to give some good advice to our listeners in their quest for buying a franchise. What would you say to them?
Passion. Make it whatever you're going to. If you're going to buy a transmission franchise, make sure that you absolutely love working on transmissions, and that's what you do. And there's a niche for everybody out there. And so when we talk about great people and who's going to be our franchisees, there's a wide variety of people that this would be great for. People that are retiring from the corporate world that come out of a good structure, military, our great military people coming back from, their deployments and things like that. I mean, this is something that people can really get into that have a structured background and don't want to reinvent the wheel. Listen, we talked about that a little bit earlier about, it's not easy to open a pizzeria. There's a lot of pitfalls. Well, we've already gone through them. So we can steer you in a direction where pitfalls are going to be few and far between, and you're going to have the support, like you say, picking up a phone and calling Joseph or myself and any part of our team members is going to be very important for our franchisees' success and moving into the future. So that's what they'll be able to do.
And we, mentioned that a lot on the show over the years, Glenn, is, that, the franchisees do not have to make the same mistakes, as of course, you or, anyone else who's ever started their own business, it's inevitable that you're going to make, So I think that's so important. I was reading a little bit about, the 5-year plans for Persona Neapolitan Pizzeria. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, we took a good long time making sure that we had all of our operations in place before we went to franchise. But we also did create this concept strictly to go to franchise and national franchise because the concept is so hot and gaining ground on a daily basis. And our 5-year plan is very simple. We're set to grow quickly, but in concentric circles and throughout the United States. So we feel that we can have at least 250 stores open in the next 5 years. And we don't think that's an aggressive number. Numbers have been thrown out in the industry of 5,000 stores in the next 5 years from all the players involved. And while it's a very, very popular segment and it's continuing to grow in popularity, we'll see where those players fall out. As far as personas go, we're looking at a slow and steady, solid growth plan that's going to benefit all of our franchisees. And again, we're not just going to be a number. We're going to know our franchisees because we're going to have intimate relationships with them. Their success is tied to our success and vice versa. So that's a very important element of our growth is concentric circles, slow and steady, but also aggressive.
That's fantastic. What about location, Glenn? Maybe we could talk a little bit about that. I'm sure, some of the listeners are, thinking about, like, location, like how much space is required, and what do you, typically look for as far as location goes?
Yeah, that's a good question because, as we've come out of the recession, there's a lot of commercial real estate opening up, and there, unfortunately, a lot of restaurants went out of business during that time. So we're really encouraging our franchisees to look at locations in the range of about 2,500 square feet. Okay. We like a location that's anchored by a big-name brand. As far as Persona is concerned, we're right across the street from the Apple Store. We're a block down from what could be called a competitor, but really accentuates Persona is a Chipotle. So when you're looking at different areas, when our franchisees are looking for different areas to put stores in, they're really looking for that model. Good visibility, high traffic areas, denser populations, and of course we have all of this in our Persona franchise plan, and we're very, very excited to be able to talk to people about locations, because that's one of the most important things. You have to have a great location. You have to have the right location. And, of course, we've pulled the demographics, and we know exactly where Personas are going to thrive.
That's fantastic. What's the best way, Glenn, for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee? Any websites that you'd like them to go to?
Sure. You know, we launched our first phase website about 1.5 years ago, and it's going to be revamped quite nicely here soon. We're adding a lot of video, but the listeners can go to all the W's, PersonaPizzeria.com, and they can click on the franchise button. That's going to give them all the contact information, and they can either do that or pick up the phone and call. There's a number right on the franchise page. They can pick up the phone and call and get a hold of Joseph or myself to talk to us directly if they're interested in asking questions about a Persona Pizzeria franchise.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Glenn, for coming on the show. You know, I've been following you for a couple months now, you know, so it's finally nice for me to, you know, finally get to the chance to speak to you. And, you know, I'd really like to invite you back next year as you continue to grow. I think this is a wonderful concept, so I'm certainly going to be watching Persona.
Well, thanks a lot, Marty. I really appreciate the opportunity and look forward to talking to you. And get out to Santa Barbara and have a Persona.
You got it. You'll be the first guys I look up. That's fantastic.
Okay, great, Marty. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Glenn. It's great having you on the show. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up in segment 2, we're going to play a clip from our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast. We're going to be meeting with franchise expert, franchise author, and franchise king, Joe LaBava, coming right up on Franchise Interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919. Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. And today's podcast is being brought to you by Franchise Times Magazine. Franchise Times is the only magazine that targets both franchisors and multi-unit franchisees and is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise. You know, Don and I have been hosting Franchise Interviews now over 4 years and over 200 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. The nice thing about hosting Franchise Interviews is we're frequently asked to be guests on radio shows and magazine interviews on the topics of entrepreneurship and franchising. And today you're going to get to hear an interview that we did 6 months ago on CBS Radio with Lynn Johnson on her motivational talk show. And of course the topic was entrepreneurship and franchising. And here's what we said. I think you guys will enjoy it.
Hey, did you ever think about buying a franchise? Do you think that now is the worst time to buy one? Or you're not sure whether anyone would loan you money to purchase a franchise? How does the whole thing work? Well, let's find out. We have an expert on the line, Marty McDermott.
Hi, Coach Lynn. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's always great to talk to you. I always feel like it's a World Talk reunion, right? We get together.
I know. We started out, guys, a very long time ago. I think we're some of the only people left, aren't we?
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? But it's just, and it seems like yesterday that we started, Lynn. You know?
It really does.
It's just incredible. But it's the success that you've had is just wonderful to watch, though. I mean, it's just incredible.
Thank you so much. And yours has been pretty fantastic. You know, Marty, just over the break, when I announced that you were going to be here talking about franchises, I got a tweet from Alice and a lot of other people, but I selected Alice's tweet.
Oh, good.
Because she says that her family has owned the same bagel shop for over 35 years.
Wow.
But now they're going to have to close because the business has slowed and their debts are too high. She wonders if setting up her own franchises could save their business. So, Marty, I know you're an expert and you host that wonderful show called Franchise Interviews on Blog Talk Radio.
That's right.
Are franchises for everyone?
Oh, great question, Lynn. It's a deep question, and definitely not. In fact, you know what? If I can quote my friend Dr. John P. Hayes, franchising is not for everyone, and it's probably not for most people. And when I say that, you know, the first time I heard that phrase, Lynn, I was a little confused because I said, if franchising isn't for everyone and it's not for most people, then who could it be for? You know, it's but franchising is really for someone who knows how to follow rules, follow systems. They're not a true entrepreneur. When I say that, sometimes franchisees get upset because they say, what are you talking about? I consider myself an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is really the person that actually creates the franchise opportunity. And, you know, when you're talking about franchisors or entrepreneurs, they're really, and you know this, Lynn, they're very creative people. Mm-hmm. You know, they can look at something.
I could never follow rules, Marty.
Exactly, and they could just create something out of anything, you know. Franchisees, and it was funny because I was in Virginia, George Mason University, on Friday talking about this topic. And one of the topics I was talking about was military being good candidates for franchises because they know how to follow a system, you know. So you really have to know how to follow a system, like to follow rules. And if you can't do that, then it's probably not for you, Lynn. So, yeah, it's always a word of caution before getting into franchising.
Now, I know that you say that there are two key factors that should be present before you consider buying a franchise. What are those factors?
Well, it depends. There's a lot of different things. I mean, one is, what do you want the franchise to do for you, Lynn? You know, for example, like, I'll give you an example. I like Dunkin' Donuts. You know, I frequent Dunkin' Donuts probably several times a week. And as much as I like Dunkin' Donuts and the coffee and the donuts, I wouldn't be a good franchisee for that type of system, because when you buy into a Dunkin' Donuts, you're working some pretty hefty hours.
True.
You know? So one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, what's important to you? You know, you're really taking a deep assessment. And for me, you know, my family is most important to me. So if I wasn't, you know, with my family or my son, like if he has a baseball game one day or whatever it is, I'm going to get very frustrated, even if I'm making a lot of money. You know, so you want to ask yourself, what do you want this franchise to do for you, and you know, what kind of system is the best match for you? There's so many choices out there today, Lynn. I mean, there's like 80 different industries franchising. Yeah, a lot of people, when they just think of franchising, they just think of food, but it's actually up to about 80 different industries. There's accounting franchises, there's advertising franchises, there's shoe repair franchises, you name it. It seems like they have it, you know. So you really have to ask yourself, you know, what's the best match for you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of research. And, you know, of course you come down to the financials,
yes,
too. And, you know, I mean, you know, McDonald's, as successful as it is, it's almost a home run every single time you have a McDonald's franchise. I can't afford one, you know, so the financial aspects are always a big factor as well. I think to go even deeper, I think you need family support. I think that's important as well, you know. I mean, if you're married, I think you have to have that support from your husband or your wife before you get into an opportunity as well, because you're taking them along for the ride with you.
I love that you said that, Marty.
Absolutely.
Do you know what you said? You said you need the support from your husband, which would infer that a woman could easily go in and buy a franchise. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you can see the influence my wife has on me, too, I guess. She's got me trained, Liz, you know. You know, and she's a fan of your show, by the way, too, you know, so you can tell I listen, you know, but absolutely. But it's so true. And, you know, speaking of women, Lynn, I mean, they really do make fantastic entrepreneurs, you know. I mean, it's amazing. I think for the first time, you know, I teach for Kaplan University.
Yes.
And we have, in colleges, for the first time, there's more women in college today than there are men.
And they're older as well.
They're older, you know. So what does that say to you, you know, is there's a lot of exciting trends that are taking place here in the United States, so.
Now, I wanted to ask you about this because I know that they just announced that even Ritz Camera is going to be closing many, many, many of their stores. And I'm kind of heartbroken about that because I'm an amateur professional photographer.
Right.
But my question is, so how do you know if the franchise that you're interested in is even going to be around in the next 5 years?
Wow, it's a great question, you know, and nothing is ever 100% certain. I will say this, that not all franchises are created equal. And what you can do is, I mean, look at the company's track record for one. You know, one of the things that you can look at is their franchise disclosure documents, and look at the history of the company. Some companies that just started franchising, I mean, they haven't really been around very long, you know, so you're kind of taking a chance in a way. You know, and you can look at how many franchisees they have and things like that. I think there's certain franchises that are always going to be around. I think McDonald's will always be here. They have like 33,000 units. Subway has about 33,000 units. So those ones are pretty safe. It's almost a home run every single time. So there is always that element of risk involved, even when you are buying into a franchise system. You know, of course, you can look at things like the market and things like that and kind of make your own assessments, but
so, Marty, with all that you know, because I have 1 minute left, and I definitely want them to come and listen to you, because I love your show on Blog Talk Radio.
Thanks so much, Lynn.
And I want them to check out your work. It's very, very important. Are franchises still a viable option, even with this economic downturn?
Most definitely. I I mean, I think, Lynn, and this is going to sound a little weird, is, one of the interesting effects of the recession I see now is some of the best offers in franchising.
Interesting.
And I've been doing this 10 years now. I'll give you a couple quick examples. Some franchisers, what they're doing is they're reducing or dropping a franchise fee for their new franchisees. Now, that's pretty significant because a franchise fee usually goes for about $30,000, $40,000. So they're waiving that. In some cases, there's 2-for-1 deals where if you buy one franchise, they'll drop the franchise fee for the second one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so it's really, and that's the effect that I've noticed from the recession is really some incredible deals. Even the landlords right now, and you've noticed there's a lot of great locations available right now.
Yes.
I think, you want to get those locations because, a great location can really overcome bad marketing, and there's going to be a lot of people kicking themselves next year. They're going to say, I should have got into that opportunity last year when they waived the franchise fee, when I could have got this killer location in this particular spot. And, landlords are sometimes more willing to give a great lease to a franchise as opposed to, let's say, Tony Subs, who's just like a regular guy.
So somewhere Tony's saying, hey!
Exactly. Tony's upset. But, so they're really getting some incredible deals right now. I think that this is the most exciting time to get into franchising. But again, to quote you, Linda, franchising isn't for everyone. It's not for most people. You do have to really do your homework. It's not guaranteed every single time. And, not all franchises are really created equal. There are some that are better than others.
Well, Marty, it's a pleasure to hear your voice and talk to you again.
It's a pleasure to hear your
voice.
And
where
we
can
love you,
my...
I think you're great.
Thank you. I love you, too.
Thanks, Coach Lynn.
Where can my people hear you, do business with you, and all those wonderful things?
Absolutely. Go to franchiseinterviews.com. You can hear over, I think we're up to 160 shows, Lynn, recorded up to this point. Yeah, so it really, when I say that number, it just really, it tickles my spine because I didn't think that there was going to be a market for this or we'd find like a listening base for it. But, every single month we have more listeners just like you, So I haven't quite achieved your success yet, but someday.
Well, thank you so much, Marty. And go check him out. Franchise interviews on Blog Talk Radio, my dear old friend from World Talk Radio.
Thanks
Marty
so much, Lynn. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, prosper.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Here it is.
Coming up in segment 2, we're going to play a clip from our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast. We're going to be meeting with franchise expert, franchise author, and franchise king, Joe LaBava, coming right up on Franchise Interviews.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of
great quotes in franchising, or each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, Don and I have been hosting franchise interviews for years and slowly approached, if you can imagine, and during that time frame we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today you're going to get to hear from a king, and how often do you get to hear from a king? We'd be speaking to the franchise king, Joel Labava. And we had Joel on our show 2 times in the last 4 years, and he really is probably one of the most knowledgeable people on the topic of franchising. Of course, Joel gave his opinion on as far as like what to do once you get the FDD, the importance of first impressions. So listen to what Joel had to say. I think you'll be very interested.
Well, it's real life stuff. You know, I've worked with hundreds of people in the past several years, and the ones that have followed the process the right way and decide to get into franchising are definitely more prepared than folks that are just going to go out and buy Subway or something. Nothing wrong with Subway, but to go out and buy a Subway just because they think it's popular, they don't do the research. The research is the key.
Sure, absolutely. And I think most people, Joel, not to be condescending to our listeners, but I think they simply just don't know how to research, and it shows exactly like in a step-by-step process how to do all that, It's just so important, the research process.
It is.
It's intimidating.
It is intimidating.
It's a whole life-changing. It's a big investment, or it could be. And then you're getting all this information. Someone needs that coach, that person, that consultant to help them. So they call up a franchise. The FDD gets delivered to them. What do you suggest that they do from there, Joel?
Well, they're going to get they'll reach out to the franchisor, and the franchisor hopefully will follow up within a day, and they'll get a packet in the mail, and the franchisor will ask them nicely to look it over, and then to schedule a conference call. Right. And that first conference call, I think, is one of the most important parts of the whole process. The franchisor isn't really doing any selling at that point. They're kind of seeing if they like you, and you're kind of feeling things out to see if you like them, just kind of as a person first, because you're going to be interacting for weeks with this franchise director.
Do you recommend that the buyer prospect, the franchisee, does their homework and knows quite a bit about that franchise they're looking at, or is that still a little too soon?
A little too soon. At first glance, people are attracted to certain franchise opportunities because they think they're popular, or they think that they're needed in their neighborhood, or they've heard about something. Just approach it with an open mind. Get the brochure, whether it's electronic or whether it's snail mail, and look over the brochure. Write some questions down as you go, and that way you're prepared for the conference call. But the research part, you're just at the beginning. See if you like what the franchise director has to say first.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been in like a Dunkin' Donuts, Joel, or a Subway, and just standing on line, and someone next to you says, "God, I wish I owned one of these."
Wish I had one of these. Yeah.
Right, just because it's the fact that it's crowded,
Right.
It's a terrible reason to franchise,
Terrible reason. What are the chances that you have something in common with the owner of that Dunkin' Donuts or that Subway? It looks good on the outside, and there's nothing wrong with the food franchise, but I hope you know what you're getting into.
Right, absolutely.
And that's where you come in, to really do all the behind-the-scenes things, and to make sure they're asking themselves all the questions that maybe they haven't thought of. That's going to be imperative to make sure they're happy in whatever business they choose.
That's right. And I don't know if you went down far enough on the page that I have set up for the book, but a good friend of mine, Sean Kelly, who's also another pretty popular franchise blogger, suggested that I include a half hour of my time for people that invest in this book, and that's what I've done. So people can arrange to talk to me for a half hour on the phone and bounce their ideas off of me. I'm not going to sell them anything. I'm not going to try to switch them to an opportunity that I work with. I just want to talk to them and tell them that, you're doing the research the right way. You're headed the right direction.
Exactly.
So I'm doing that now.
And I guess, and this is something Marty and I have preached on, just about every show, that when someone's researching a franchise, it's so imperative to call and speak to the other franchisees. That's listed in the FDD, and you even recommend going to visit the franchisees and to just ask a lot of questions. Why should someone do all this, Joel?
It's amazing that a lot of people that I've talked to that have come to me a little too late and said, "Boy, Joel, I wish I would have talked about you, or I wish I would have known about your book." They all say the same thing. Oh, I didn't talk to any franchisees.
Incredible.
And I said, why not? Well, the franchise director, they said I didn't have to, or, I'm perfect for the business. You got to talk to the people that are actually doing it and that took the risk already. That's what it's about. These people took the risk. They're not getting paid by the franchise company to say good things.
Right.
So talk to the people that are doing the business. See if there's some stuff in common.
And I think that's something that helps you sleep better at night, Joel, is it kind of gets rid of that nervousness because this is a very big investment, It's just a lot of times, Don, and I think you as well, you compare it to a marriage,
Yeah.
It's that big, so it really is so important that you have all the facts. And I suspect that there's a lot of people out there that don't have all the information that they actually need to make the decision.
No, and they're making the decision on emotion. They're
Exactly.
not making it on facts.
Absolutely.
And what's the percentage of people who eventually invest in a franchise? It's over 90% that they never initially considered that franchise or industry to begin with.
Well, the ones that work with folks like myself, most of them are definitely in franchises they never really thought of or might not have heard of, but the skill set matches. But there's still a lot of people out there, you guys, that just buy a franchise because it's branded, it has a name, or they really think that it would be perfect in this shopping center.
Right.
And they're the wrong match for the business.
Exactly.
So they fail.
It's interesting. Joel, you do a nice job at explaining the different finance arrangements that are out there, and you even include ways to
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you again next week with another edition of Franchise Interviews. We have a special show on next Wednesday talking about the big franchise event that's going to take place at the Jacob Javits Center next week, so tune in for that as well, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.